Hello there, welcome to video number 2. I'm going to try to go a little bit faster here. I'd like to get 2 problems in this video, and please hit pause and rewind as necessary. The only way you get this is you just keep practicing them. Also wanted to let you know that this particular problem is on page 519 in your book. It's example number 2. If you want something else to look at, you can check there and kind of see how they have it laid out, which is similar to this method that I'm using. It's the same method, they have it laid out a little bit differently. And the only way to do this is just to keep practicing and not give up. So here's our question. It's to factor this 3x squared plus 4x minus 15. If you would write that down. And I'll just take you through the steps again. Step 1, the first thing we want to do is we want to find the factors of a times c, which a times c this time would be 3 times negative 15. You have to count that negative sign plus negative there, and that equals negative 45. We want to know what factors of a times c sum to the middle term, which is 4, which is b. That's b there, okay? Well, one way, so you have to start here, you have to ask yourself, how could I multiply to get negative 45? Well, one way to do that would be to go 1 times negative 45. That equals negative 45. But that adds, that sum is negative 44. So that's not it, sad face. Or okay. Another way to multiply to get negative 45 is 3 times negative 15. That multiplies to it, but that adds, unfortunately, to negative 12. So that's not it either, because we are looking for 4. If I try 5 times negative 5, I'm sorry, 5 times negative 9, that multiplies to negative 45, and that adds to negative 4, which is close, but that's not it. I want the opposite. So if you happen to get the number you're looking for, okay, but it's the opposite sign, then you just switch the signs, okay? And so if I change that 5 to negative and 9 to positive, now you'll get to see where you would have known to do that because the 9 has to be greater, the absolute values of the 9 has to be greater than the absolute value of the negative 5. In order to get a positive number, you'll learn to do things to quickly find this. I'm kind of just taking you through the longer process at this point. But that's the goal right there, is you have to find that group. All right, so I know negative 5 times 9 is negative 45, and I know that it adds to 4, so that's going to be my what I'm going to use here. So we go back to our question, working down your page, 3x squared, that's not going to change because this is all about that b term. So I can get 4 if I change that. I'm going to change that 4 into negative 5x plus 9. And that's minus 15. That just stays the same. So again, we've just split that up into the combination of factors that multiplies to that term and to that value and to that middle term right there. Now, here's the weird trick. This is kind of the new part for you. We're going to factor the first two, and we're going to factor, I left out the x right there. That's important. You got to have that x in there. We're going to factor these two terms and see what happens. Well, this has a common factor of x. 3x squared, negative 5x. That's the highest, the greatest factor that I can take out there. So if I divide out x from that, I get 3x. I can just say minus 5 or plus negative 5, same thing. Bring down this plus sign, goes right there. See how we're building this? Now this has a common factor of 3. If I take out the 3, I divide out the 3. 9 divided by 3 be 3. Don't forget the x. Minus 15 divided by 3 is 5. Now do you see that matching pair there again? That 3x minus 5 and the 3x minus 5. So now I have a common factor of 3x minus 5. Okay, if you want to put a note, common factor is 3x minus 5 now. Or the really greatest common factor between this term and this term. So we are going to divide out from both of those terms 3x minus 5. Okay, so remember how we set it up? We put the GCF up front. We put the, I'll give you extra note here. GCF goes up front, 3x minus 5. And then you divide it out. Now here, I'll use red here to show you. So these cancel out. Those divide out, and that divides out from that. So we are left with x plus 3 times that, times x plus 3. And that is your solution right there. That's the answer. Again, what you do need to do, I would like you copying the check down for me, please. 3x times x, that's 3x squared. 3x times, I said 3x times x is 3x squared. Then 3x times 3 is 9x, plus negative 5 times x is negative 5x, plus negative 5 times 3, negative 15. Does that look familiar? It should. It's just like this line up here. They just switch the 5 and the 9 around, but it's still the same thing. Now if you combine these terms right there, there's your 4x plus negative 15. And 3x is right there, 3x squared, and you're happy because you just checked your answer, which is that right there. All right, let's go on to number 3. This would be a great place for you to hit pause and try one on your own. So do that now, and let's see how you work it out. And I will come right back and tell you the answer. So hit pause now. Okay, if you're back, something just flashed up on your screen. Hopefully you can see this now. First thing you should have done was to find all the factors of a times c. A times c, 5 times 12 is 60. So I began listing factors. Hopefully you found it faster than I did. I just went ahead and listed all the positive ones. And the one that worked out was 4 times 15. That sums to 19. So I go over to my problem and I begin to expand that middle term. Again, first term stays the same. We split that up into the factors that sum to 19, that also multiplied to be 60. Bring the 12 down. Now, if you switched around this 4x and the 15x, yours might look a little bit differently from this point on, which is okay. You still should work out to the same answer if you did it correctly. So the way I did it, I took these two terms right here, divided out the x. I took these two terms right there and divided out that 3. That gave me a common factor of 5x plus 4 here, 5x plus 4 here. So I divide out that common factor, 5x plus 4, and dividing that out, okay, it cancels out the 5x plus 4s. I put my GCF up front, and the remaining binomial is x plus 3. There's your answer right there. You should have checked it. I did that quickly. I just did it in my head here. That's 5x squared. That's 4x, and 15x is 19x. 4 times 3 is 12 right there. So there it is. Now, when we go to the back side here, a couple things are going to change, and it gets a little trickier for you, but stick with me. Don't give up, and we will get through this. All right? So come back for video number 3 next.